Oh yeah, from this week, yeah.
Disability, an impairment that may be cognitive, developmental, intellectual, mental, physical, sensory, or some combination of these. It substantially affects a person's life activities and may be present from birth or occur during a person's lifetime. In Nigeria, the estimates vary for the number of people with disabilities. However, the World Report on Disability, published in 2011, states that about 25 million Nigerians had at least one disability, while 3.6 million of these had very significant difficulties in functioning. In October 2018, at the 73rd UN General Assembly, the chairman of the National Population Commission of Nigeria estimates that no fewer than 19 million persons are living with disabilities in Nigeria. The World Bank estimates that 1 billion people, or 15% of the world's population, experience some form of disabilities, and the prevalence is higher for developing countries. Nigeria signed and ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and its optional protocol on May 28, 2007 and October 27, 2008. The convention seeks, among other things, to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. On July 14, 2010, Nigeria signed the International Labour Organization Convention on the Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment of Disabled, number 159 of 1983. This convention makes provision for employment of persons with disabilities without discrimination. October 2018. Persons with disability under the Coalition of Disability Organizations take to the streets of Abuja with one demand: the transmission of the Nigeria Disability Bill by the National Assembly to President Buhari for assent.
We as disabled
have my voting card.
We have voting rights. This is his voting card.
I voting.
He voted him in.
We have been struggling for disability.
We have been struggling for disability bill.
It is our right to
have. It is our right to have the bill that defines us.
Define our needs.
Defines our needs.
And clear our rights.
And clear our
within
rights.
The society.
Within the society.
Nigeria. Central to the convention.
Nigeria signed to the convention.
UN.
The UN Convention of
Convention for
Rights
of persons with disability.
But
bill to practice
it. The bill to practice it.
Nigeria is a full member.
Nigeria is a full member.
This bill has been going in circle.
This bill has been going in circle. It is enough. We need it.
If this house expire now,
it will come back to square A.
Pass it to the president. Let the president assent
it. Let the president
assent it.
With a commission.
That is our demand.
That is our
nothing
demand.
More.
Nothing
less.
Nothing less.
They are stopped at the entrance to the National Assembly by policemen, but that is not enough to stop their resolve.
We are worried that 6 April, the National Assembly harmonized the disability bill. Until today, it is yet to be transmitted to the President for assent.
Yes.
We are here to march to the National Assembly to demand that the National Assembly should transmit the disability bill to the President for his assent.
Yes.
Without that, we are not going to participate in other things that will help the rights of people with disabilities.
Yes.
This bill contains right to health. It contains right to education.
Yes.
The bill contains right to political participation.
Yes.
The bill contains right to access to public infrastructure.
Yes.
The bill contains people with disabilities participation in every activities of social life.
Yes.
That is why we are here to support the disability bill.
Yes.
We are supporting the disability bill.
Yes.
We are here to support the disability bill.
Yes.
And that is why we are moving to the National Assembly to demand for their support and ask them to transmit the disability bill to the President for his assent.
Senator Shehu comes to the rescue.
Our presence here is to identify with you and to reassure you of the commitment, the determination of this 8th National Assembly to see to it that the bill in question is being transmitted to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for his access. We are very conscious of the fact that people living with disabilities in Nigeria have for long been neglected. They have for long been marginalized. They have for long been ostracized. It is our belief that people living with disabilities are also human beings and they should be treated as human beings. The moral rating of a society, the moral degree of a society can only be measured on its ability to take care of its own people who are living with disability. It is of concern to us that over the years, we have seen a systematic discrimination against people living with disability.
The Disability Bill, passed by the National Assembly, seeks to protect the rights of persons with disability, in addition to prohibiting discrimination on the grounds of disability and other harmful practices. The International Day of Persons with Disabilities, marked every December 3rd since 1992, has this year's theme as Empowering Persons with Disability and Ensuring Inclusiveness and Equality. This theme focuses on empowering persons with disabilities for the inclusiveness, equitable and sustainable development envisaged in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The 2030 Agenda, pledging to leave no one behind, is an ambitious plan of action of the international community towards a peaceful and prosperous world, where dignity of an individual person and equality among all is applied as the fundamental principle, cutting across the three pillars of the work of the United Nations: development, human rights, and peace and security.
Societies will never achieve the Sustainable Development Goals without the full participation of everyone, including people with disabilities. We cannot afford to ignore or marginalize the contributions of 1.5 billion people. Upholding the rights of people with disabilities is a moral imperative, but it's not an act of charity. It is a recognition of rights and a practical necessity if we are to build healthy, sustainable societies to the benefit of everyone, those with disabilities and those without. Discrimination against people with disability has been going on for centuries, and it will take major efforts to challenge stereotypes and to change mindsets. The powerful advocacy of the disability rights movement and the inspiring achievements of women and men with disabilities in all walks of life, from the science lab to the sports field, are creating lasting change.
In Nigeria, the day is marked with resilient men and women showcasing ability in their disability. The state government in Bayelsa State, South Nigeria, through the Ministry of Employment and Social Development, organizes a special program to celebrate them. Crutches, wheelchairs and other support items are distributed with a sum of 5,000 naira each.
This state is so concerned about these disabled people because they are their own children, they are our people.
Most of the social work that we have been carrying out has been on these people, themselves and the ex-lepers.
There's nothing like the law. When the law is in place, you find that whether you are there or you're not there, whether the administration is in office or not, your rights are protected. That's the important thing, because these things are material things. They'll go bad. What's happening is that every incoming government, they have to go and solicit. They have to go there and try to familiarize with the government and try to get a good face before government can do something for them. It shouldn't be so. It's your right. When it's your right, then you can demand for it. And unless there's a law to back that right, then you don't have much to go for.
In Ekiti State, southwestern Nigeria, persons with disabilities reiterate the need to be included in all plans of the government. They make their voices heard through a rally. The wife of the Ekiti State Governor receives them.
Our message to you as a community is that continue to use whatever opportunities come your way, because even if there are certain things that are missing in terms of what you're able to do, God has blessed you in abundance with a whole lot of other gifts. So what we can do is help you work on those gifts so that you can achieve your full potential.
We also pray to always treat the right.
The main thrust of the United Nations Day of Persons with Disabilities is to increase awareness of the gains to be derived from the integration of persons with disabilities in every aspect of political, social, economic, and cultural life. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation speaks on the government's efforts in achieving this year's theme for the celebration.
This is a reminder for countries, and in particular Nigeria, to address the needs of every member of the society in an inclusive, equitable, and sustainable manner. For this government, it is in line with the simple but very profound affirmation of the President in his inaugural address in 2015 that he belongs to everyone, and irrespective of status or physical endowment. Unfortunately, it is a global fact that persons with disabilities face enormous challenges in their day-to-day activities. These challenges are often in the form of barriers that many of us take for granted. For instance, less than 10% of published material are accessible to the blind and visually impaired persons around the world. Here in Nigeria, we have initiated various policies to address the special needs of children of school age who live with disabilities. But there are still many other barriers, such as negative or hostile social environments, physical obstacles, and inaccessibility, absence of assertive or adaptive communication technology, mobility constraints, etc. All levels of government and every one of us have a role to play in ensuring that every person with disability is given equal opportunity to realize his or her potentials and to contribute their quota to national development.
With the launch of the baseline survey of persons with disabilities in the Federal Civil Service, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation promises that her office would leave no one behind in the quest for a fair opportunity in life.
As a pilot project, the survey will be conducted in the core ministries and extra-ministerial departments within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Subsequently, based on the availability of funds, the project will be extended to other MDAs in the FCT and 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
For the Special Advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari on disability matters, 10% of all job openings in both the public and private sector should be reserved for people living with disabilities.
This government is committed to the welfare of people with disabilities who are academically qualified to be employed. So could you bring up a memo on our behalf with disabilities to the President so that we could get 10% reserved for recruitment in the Federal Civil Service?